Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Operator Leadership session here at the World Online Fitness and Wellness Summit. I have the pleasure of moderating what is a fantastic panel. I've got 4 industry leaders here from across the globe. I'll start from clockwise and go around all the way around clockwise. It might be the same on your screen, but it might not. But in my top left, Davie, John is the founding director of World Gym in Australia, and John and his team have really quickly built a phenomenal brand. World Gym, of course, has been a huge brand across the globe now for decades. But since John and Mike and his team have taken it to Australia, they really have built something incredible. Coming round clockwise from there, Ray Bolivar, who is the CEO of Anytime Fitness Asia. Ray and his team own over 200 gyms across Asia, I believe it's 6 countries, Ray, but I could be wrong in this, but a huge number of countries and geographies. And as mentioned with Chuck earlier on today, having this really diverse portfolio across multiple geographics has been a real challenge across this COVID crisis. Ray, like everyone else here, brings decades of experience, including working with Wills and TSI, amongst other large brands. One down from him is George Flooks. George is CEO of Fitness First Middle East and North Africa. George came into Fitness First a few years ago and has successfully built the brand from about, I think, a dozen clubs to well over 50 in a number of locations, and continues to expand very successfully. And last but not least, coming around clockwise, is Di. Di Williams is the founder and the chairwoman of Fernwood Fitness clubs. She's done a phenomenal job over the last couple of decades in Australia, building what essentially has become a household brand in female fitness. She's also one of the co-founders of Davie Training, a unique new brand in Australia that has some phenomenal programming and really just use the front ends of technology. So Ray, George, Di, and Jonathan, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you all for joining us at home today. Look forward to ensuring this is a great conversation. Let me kick straight in with the first question. Now, we're looking at how gyms have to be remodeled, have to be redesigned in order to try and fit in with tomorrow's operating environment. There'll be many challenges they face. So how are these operators looking at design, looking at remodeling both their current facilities and their future facilities? George, let me pull you in this first question if I can. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Ross. Of course, remodeling and redesigning your business has become imperative. But I think while we're doing it is a question we currently ask ourselves. And our customers, first and foremost, they need to trust the brand. They need to know that we've been responsible and that we're taking the situation serious. And the most important thing about remodeling and redesigning your brand is you need to give people space. Everyone right now is saying, get out of my space, give me my space. You know, whether you're going to shopping centers, whether you're standing in a bank, people want their space. So a couple of things that we've done. I'll start with the redesign. And all our redesigns, we've taken out steam bath and we've taken out sauna. So what we've done is, by doing that, we've actually kept the size, but we've created more space for people in our change rooms, which has really freed up, and people see that now they've got their own space, their personal space, which has made them really comfortable. And we're doing that with all our refurbs too. When it comes to what we're doing on the gym floor, the most touchy place on the gym floor is actually in the cardio area. You know, most of your other equipment is reasonably spaced. So when you look at your design, we've been very fortunate. We've always had very big functional or freestyle spaces. So we've been pretty fortunate. We can redistribute cardio equipment into the freestyle space. So we're spreading the customers out across our clubs. The most critical place, though, where you do find the remodeling is that in your group exercise studios. You know, there's nowhere to go. You've got a box, you've got a space. Where am I going to go? So with the social distancing, and you're having to chop those numbers in half in terms of utilization numbers, we've done a lot in terms of spacing and, you know, giving people the comfort and the security that they've got the amount of space that they feel comfortable in. But more importantly, on the remodeling, we've invested more into group exercise because we've had to put on more classes. So instead of reducing or keeping your timetables the same, we've actually upped the number of classes because this is what the customers want. Group exercise is a key anchor to your business. And then the remodeling is, all the standard stuff is there, taking temperatures, spacing in the clubs. We've, in X amount of sanitizing stations. I think those are the pretty obvious. But I would say, if you can give your customers space and you can show them that you're serious about giving them space and you're responsible in your change rooms, on your gym floor, in your group exercise studios, plus investing, I think you hit the sweet spot and you'll see your customers will come back to you, as we've seen here in the Middle East.
Thanks for that, George. John, your thoughts as well. Of course, you have some traditionally very large facilities. What are your thoughts on how you're looking to remodel or redesign those?
Yeah, look, I think George is right. The most important areas for us is our group rooms, because we're still under restrictions in Australia on how many members we can have in a class. But moving forward, we're going to want to make sure that we can adapt to those 1.5 metre social distancing rules that have been applying through COVID. We've always had a base amount of space that we use for our group fitness rooms might be, 200 square metres. Our cycle rooms might be 85 square metres. We're generally catering for 30 bikes, 35 bikes. We're going to have to look at increasing those to make sure we can meet the social distancing requirements, because I think the social distancing requirements will continue on just in people's minds. It might not be a requirement which is legislated, but people want their space now. They don't want to be riding right next to someone else. They want to have that gap in between. Our gym floors, again, it's one of those things that our clubs have evolved, and I think all the clubs are evolving over time. Clubs used to be 1,500 to 1,700 square metres. Last year, most of our clubs were 2,000 square metres. The new clubs are opening now are going to be, 2.5 plus thousand square metres. Simply trying to cater for the same volume of people with a little bit more space. And I do think, moving forward, a lot of the requirements by government, such as sanitisation stations and cleaning stations, will continue on. And I think as far as my staffing goes, I will continue having they won't be COVID marshals, but they'll be cleaning marshals showing a presence in the clubs, walking around the clubs and cleaning. And I think that's very important for the customers and members coming to the club.
Thanks, John. Ray, I'll come to you first, and then Di will finish on yourself. What are your thoughts, Ray, on obviously your own clubs, maybe slightly smaller than some of these big box clubs, but there's obviously a variety of owners and operators there. What are your thoughts on how you're consulting with them or advising them on how they should change their floors?
Yeah, so very similar to what George and Jonathan had mentioned. I don't want to just repeat that again, but a lot of what we do is really underpinned by probably two major factors. One is probably government regulations / restrictions, right? So we need to make sure that we're adhering to that and following them. But the other aspect is obviously the social distancing. The whole aspect of social distancing will be with us for quite some time until a vaccine is found. So a lot of what we do, we don't necessarily remodel the gym, but certainly redesign it, and the layout obviously is going to change. So with the equipment, whether it's cardio or strength, they need to be socially distanced, so to speak. Functional and free space are a bit easier. I agree with George, Group X, we're going to have to find a solution for that. Probably adding more classes, obviously, which leads to expense and instructor pay, things like that. But also other things that we've seen that by convention are changing. The whole aspect of peak time, conventionally, pre-work, afternoon, and post-work, now literally has been rewritten. Peak time is whenever, right? Because everyone's working from home. People have the ability to come in and out anytime they want. So really that peak time or peak usage is really any time, to be honest with you, pardon the pun. Of course, also, I agree that marshal or that safety officer is going to be a very important role because as time goes on, we need to make sure that, I think we spoke about it during the talk. What is the weak link? The weak link is the group or groups of people who don't have the rigor or the discipline to make sure the SOPs are in place. So that safety officer position is going to be quite important. So we work with our franchisees. We have our set SOPs. Our franchise business coaches are continually working and coaching and guiding to make sure all those systems are in place.
Thanks, Ray. Di, last but not least, what are your thoughts on your clubs? Because, again, a number of different sizes across different states in Australia.
That's right. We have a lot of different sizes. We go from 2,000 square meters down to like under 1,000 square meters. We also have 7 states and territories, so there's different regulations in every state, in each territory or state, depending on social distancing and what the restrictions are. But overall, all of our clubs, we have a designated cleaner on staff all of the time in a uniform that will identify her to make sure that the members are comfortable. And I think that's probably one of the most important things that we've done. We've also removed a lot of things, like we used to have complimentary breakfast and fresh face towels. They've all gone. We've changed a lot of the things to make it completely sterile. And as Ray said, the peak times have gone now. There are people coming in the club all the time. So we've used virtual a lot more to be able to put more classes on at different times of the day, as well as adding extra classes as well. We've used as much reallocated space, I suppose, in some of our areas to make more spaces to get more people in, because we can have, say, some of the restrictions say 10 at a time, others say 20. So we organise our spaces for that. But it's pretty much the same as everybody. We try to get as many of our members in to feel as comfortable as they can and reassure them that they'll be perfectly safe when they come into our clubs. We take their temperatures and we go do all of that. Our protocol is very good. I feel quite confident that nobody's going to pick up any viruses while they're in our clubs, but we have to let the government let them in our clubs.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see how few cases of COVID actually have been transferred in gyms. I know the guys in both Australia and the US have got some great data on that. So well done to Fitness Australia and well done to Urza for coming up. I think it was also MXM with those data points. As a good segue now, Diana, let me stick with yourself. And you touched on virtual, and obviously that is part of the strategy now. What has been your experiences so far with the virtual in terms of what you've been pushing out and how you're connecting with your members?
Yes, well, of course, we have had virtual before COVID, not to the extent that we have it now. We actually are very lucky to have our own videographer and studio in our offices, so we create a lot of content. And so while all of our members were locked up at home, they were able to do virtual at home. And in club, of course, we're putting more and more virtual classes in our clubs, not just for fitness, but also Pilates and yoga and hit training, spin. There's a whole lot of different virtual classes. I think the thing I have to say about that is it has to be high quality. You have to have a high quality projector, or people are getting fussy now. They're used to seeing a lot of different varieties of virtual or online or on their TVs or whatever. The quality of the content and the quality of the hardware and the quality of the technology has to be number one. This is why we're creating our own, so that we've got our own branded content. We spend $15,000-$20,000 on a camera. It's really high quality. I think that's important. If virtual is just on a little screen on the wall, it's not going to engage the members. It needs to be something worthwhile. And also the people who are running doing the virtual classes need to be engaged with the camera, and not everybody can do that.
Thanks, Di. Yeah, George, let me bring you in here, of course. I know that you've got your own virtual platform developed quite significantly. How is virtual part of your strategy, and what is your experience with virtual been so far?
So this was one of the big opportunities that came to us during lockdown. We went really with very raw content. I understand what Di is saying, but under lockdown we didn't have a choice. So to engage our customers, we just went as fast as we could, and we went live online streaming, and it was very, very raw. People doing it up the staircase and doing Zumba classes in their living room, which for me was fantastic. It really showed the attitude and the desire for people to stay connected to their customers. And we also realized we had literally millions of views during lockdown, which actually led us to the business opportunity that there's, once our clubs have opened, there is a number of people that, especially in your cities, where people will be working from home. And how do you create the opportunity with live streaming and create a subscription-driven business? And this becomes an additional revenue stream for us. And, for us, this has been very successful because, firstly, your group exercise instructors love it. They get a different platform to market themselves. Our customers love it because you're giving them versatility. You're giving them great value for money. They pay for it. It's a very small amount. And it enhances your membership base because your retention factor goes even higher. People don't drop out of their membership. They just jump into another platform, and you give people a different opportunity. So that's the group exercise side. But the same happened with personal training. We started doing personal training online. A lot of personal trainers realized there's a real business opportunity for them out in the marketplace, which is fantastic. So we created those opportunities. And also on-demand fitness content is available. So I think taking the fitness industry into people's living rooms, but also turning it into a revenue stream, because the top line revenues will come under pressure as people downgrade into different packages or as people take on extended freeze opportunities. We've got to create these other revenue streams to engage with our customers, and it's the loyalty to the customer that's really most important. The second major revenue stream that we found in this is that, because, take for example, your spin studios, Jonathan was saying you've got 30 bikes, now you're only using 15 or 20 bikes, maybe even less. You've got equipment sitting around that's not being used. So we've created a platform which allows our customers to rent the equipment from us. So we've also gone into the home rental business as an additional revenue stream. Firstly, your customers know the equipment, they trust you. It's much easier speaking to Fitness First to get a spin bike than going somewhere else and trying to negotiate it. The price is significantly better, and you stay connected to your customers. In this, the business strategy, how's it changed? Well, we just see these opportunities jump onto them. Two parts: great revenue opportunities, new business opportunities, and also more loyalty to the customers.
Sticking on that, George, how did you manage to compile your content? Have you seen any modalities working in particular online? Have you been pushing more of a certain type of class? Yes. What are your kind of initial thoughts from the statistics analysis coming through?
Yes, statistically, your dance classes are the most popular. So, if you're talking about specific modalities, your dance classes, which I think is very, very easy for people to tap into in their living rooms or where they're doing it. And it's you can get a mom and a daughter doing a dance class. They're a lot more popular than for example, your HIIT or your strength classes. Also, it's very much instructor led. You've got a fantastic Zumba rock star, and you watch the views just increase. Some of the instructors are getting up to 500 views. According to Les Mills, that's a fantastic number of views to actually have. But a lot of that's instructor-led. Of course, you want your content to be world class. But if you've got a rock star that can deliver a fantastic experience, people buy into it. So your dance classes, absolutely. The credibility of the instructor and the fame that they bring to the platform, very, very important. It's not for everyone. It's for real specific people that have that attitude and that personality that can deliver it from behind the camera. So we've learned a lot over this period. And we see it as it's an ongoing business. Is it here to stay? Yes, absolutely. Is the fitness industry getting into people's homes and living rooms? Absolutely, 100%. Is there a chance for us to get into the home delivery business? 100%. Yes, we are. So many opportunities have come out of this current situation.
Thanks, George. Ray, let me turn to you, of course, because I know, again, you're trying to deliver content across multiple countries, multiple cultures. How has that been on the virtual and online offerings, and how is that part of your future strategy?
Yeah, so I mean, virtual, remote, digital, all probably the biggest buzzword right now, particularly being driven by COVID, right? Even if people are not comfortable with it for the last 4 or 6 months, I think globally, people have been trained to live in the virtual world. I mean, virtual meetings, virtual schools, virtual conferences, right? So I think the majority of people have become comfortable with this platform. And it's definitely, like George had mentioned, it is here to stay. And I think it's essential, right? It can substitute the brick and mortar should the gym shut down. But even if the gyms are open, it augments and it supplements the membership and that experience. We were fortunate enough to really start our digital platform probably 18 months ago. But certainly after March 16th, it's a day I will always remember. It's our first market that got locked down. So as of March 16th, we tripled down on virtual and digital platforms. We're actually looking at launching a few more right now, because I think the more options that you have, I think George or Jonathan had mentioned it, it's, whether it's Group X, whether it's one-on-one, small group, full-blown GX, people want that convenience, right? And they're looking for that. If they can't have that socialization in person, they'll have it virtually, right? And as we've been building our content, we learned a lot of key findings, and I agree with Diana completely. Content is king, and it better be high quality. That is the expectation. That's table stakes right now. That's what you need to have just to be able to play in this game. The content better engage and motivate the users. In addition, the magic is that this platform better track, monitor the members' vitals, usage, performance, and be able to tie it back to their fitness goals, right, to make it relevant. And much like our conventional offerings that we've had historically, we're going to have to manage this platform. We're going to have to evaluate it, make sure the offerings are top of mind. This virtual package, so to speak, has to live and grow as our members' expectations change. And what's difficult for us, like you mentioned, Ross, is we operate out of 9 markets. The cultural nuances alone are incredible. Forget about just content, right? Because like George had mentioned, some countries are very much into dance, other countries are into power and strength. It's also the variability and variations in the small group, large group, one-on-one personal training. All fantastic revenue streams when done properly. But again, you got to strategize about how you launch your digital platform. While necessity may have you do it ad hoc, if you want it sustainable, if you want it to be world-class and you want it to be a point of differentiation, you got to make it world-class, right? And like I said, it is here to stay. And whether it's brick and mortar or whether it's virtual, our concept of being a health club or a commercial fitness member is now going to extend beyond 4 walls. It's going to be, well, what's your brick and mortar gym membership? And also, what do you subscribe to virtually? What's your favorite platform here? And you'll see that a conventional gym goer has multiple options now. And it makes it quite exciting because, wow, the aspect of innovation for the future is honestly, man, sky's the limit at this point.
Thanks, Ray. Fully agree with you. It'll be interesting to see on hybrid. Let's talk about that later on. John, just some closing thoughts, obviously, on World Gym and the virtual marketplace. I know personal training, of course, is a huge business for yours. How are you implementing virtual? What have been your successes? Is there any data analysis you've managed to glean off some of this? Are you going up or are you going down?
Yeah, look, probably the best way to answer the question is in 2 parts, pre-COVID, obviously, and then post-COVID, what we've learnt through COVID. So pre-COVID, we put virtual in very early, and unlike George, Diane, and Ray, we didn't have a platform of our own. So our main form of virtual was Les Mills. So we obviously put the Les Mills virtual classes in. And interesting enough, there was quite a few reasons we put it in. The first reason was because it enabled our timetable to increase dramatically, and it enabled that room to be utilised all day instead of at only a small amount of period through the day as live classes. So we keep our live classes going, but we fill out the timetable with virtual classes, which obviously is a win for members. The second reason, which was a reason I didn't really understand at first, is there is an intimidation factor with group fitness as well. You know, some people don't like going into a live class when everyone seems to know what they're doing, and they're new, and the instructor's up the front, and so the virtual gives them an opportunity to trial a class, to come in, and if they don't like it, they can leave. They don't feel as pressured because there's not as many people in there. And the third reason, obviously, virtual's a great opportunity for the gyms and the members, is that if a group fitness instructor's sick, which happens quite a lot, obviously, across the gym industry, each week we find a few dropping off or not turning up, we're able to put a class on, which impacts the member less. So that's the reasons that we looked at virtual prior to COVID. Obviously, the content is the biggest thing again. You know, we had, when COVID shutdown came around, we didn't have a platform or an online platform that we were implementing. So we put a very raw one up, which we put out to our members, but also to a broader community. And I think virtual is a great opportunity for our industry to reach out to people that wouldn't normally go to a gym. Say, this is what a group fitness class may be, and I think that's really important, because eventually that person may become a gym goer. They might want to come into the gym and try it. And I think you know, in the situation with COVID, thinking laterally of ways of expanding our membership pool, rather than having 15 to 17% of the population having a gym membership, having 20 to 30% of the 20% plus of the membership base, because we're able to pull using virtual into the club. And like George says, obviously a great revenue stream for additional add-ons for clubs if they wanted to go that way.
Thanks, John. George, I'll put you in here because, of course, we've now turned our attention to hybrid, and we've already heard hybrid being talked about so many times already. It's going to be part of the future industry, but so, of course, do new pricing structures. People will perhaps not have as much disposable income as they had before. Maybe they are wanting to be more experimental in their health choices. They're wanting multiple memberships. How, as an operator, are you having to position how you're structuring your membership prices and membership packages?
Thanks, Ross. What we've learned over this time, and I think it's really important, before, if I go back maybe 3 or 4 months, or maybe even further, you had the different brands. You had your budget clubs, you had your boutique clubs, you had your mid-market clubs, your upper mid-market, your premium type clubs, and everyone ran sort of a different type of pricing structure. And we were pretty stubborn in terms of where we positioned ourselves and what was our offering and what was our pricing. Today, that's all gone. It's all gone. The boutique pricing, the budget pricing, it's all gone. You have to show total flexibility to your customers. Because if you don't show total flexibility, they'll go somewhere else. They'll join, we have a customer today who might join Diana's business on a live streaming. So total flexibility when it comes to membership options has to be the way forward. So what it does is it's fantastic because it suppresses the industry. It brings your prices down slightly closer to someone else's, but also in our type of facilities, we can have add-on packages. So you can sell a package with PT, you can sell a package with subscription fees, you can sell a package without. We even now sell packages to the general public for personal training that don't have to be members. So you've got to take the opportunity and say, what is available? There's a buffet of opportunities that are out there, and you can create hybrid memberships and add-on packages across multiple streams in your business. And it's about retaining your customer and giving them the best opportunity possible to meet their financial needs, plus to maintain and continue the experience that you want to create in your clubs. And what I found is, if you get into the live streaming business, we used to outsource that. We would say, all right, well, Peloton's gone into that market. Yeah, we'll leave them alone. No, absolutely not. We're getting into that market. We'll compete in that market. If you're talking about the home equipment market, you can have a membership that allows people to have add-on accessories on a rental basis from your facility. So suddenly you're getting into the home rental market. You can have a hybrid membership for that. Your personal packages are exactly the same. So I encourage people in the industry, just take the blinkers off, go for the full buffet, protect your membership base, create greater value across all hybrid opportunities, and watch your membership base actually grow. And you will bridge the gap in the yield dilution that you had over the last 2 or 3 months. Your revenues will come back, but more importantly, your membership base comes back. And a bigger membership base buys more PT, Ray. A bigger membership base will buy more subscription online. So many opportunities. Just take the blinkers off and have a go for it attitude, because the market's ready for that. The market's ready for that. There's no rules. Just create them now as you go along and compete in every different sector of the market.
Thanks, George. Davie, let me bring you in here because, of course, as a franchise owner, of course, you are having to look at how you maybe standardize some of the membership packages, make sure they're not too disparative across the regions. But of course, you've got to make sure they're attractive to get the members in, to get the franchise fees. How are your thoughts at the moment on hybrid memberships, and how are you pricing those in your head?
Yes, well, we have had hybrid memberships before. We've never really called them that, but all of our members did have an online component as part of their membership, and it was called My Fernwood, and they got their meal plans, and they got their recipes, and various things. We've now obviously grown that to a whole nother level, and it's a much more advanced platform now. And since we've had the shutdown, we've been able to sell the virtual or the hybrid, the online component, to the members who are at home. So a lot of them have opted in just to do that. So moving forward, we will have, when it comes to a member needing to defer her membership or freeze her membership because her children are off on school holidays or for whatever reason, she can now flip over to a hybrid, to the other part of the hybrid membership, the online part of it, and then come back into the club. So we keep her engaged. We can also keep our members who are really not motivated to come in at all. We can still communicate with them and keep them as part of our community, and they feel as though they belong, even though they're not coming to the club anymore. So it's creating that community spirit. And we also have quite a strong focus on wellness and mental health, and we run empowerment programs, which are programs which our members pay for to go through a 6-week self-awareness program to help them cope with anxieties and that sort of thing. And so there's a whole new revenue stream that can be sold to people at home through the online platform, such as our empowerment program or personal training or HIIT training or whatever. They don't even have to come to the gym to do it. So so many members now are so nervous about coming back to the club. I think it's wonderful. It'll definitely be something that all the fitness industry will do in time. Once again, it has to be good quality because there's a lot out there. But yeah, we're very excited about it.
Thanks, Davie. Ray, let me bring you in here, of course. Again, speaking internationally across multiple countries, multiple different price points and acceptances for membership rates. What are your thoughts in terms of how membership structures will change in the next couple of years and how they will or will not include hybrid?
Yeah, I think, the aspect of hybrid, it's an incredibly pragmatic strategy right now, particularly during this COVID period, because I think I mentioned it before, until that vaccine comes out, the threat of COVID shutting down markets, it's there. It could literally happen tomorrow. So to be able to have a platform, and however you want to define hybrid, right, that's up to you, but something that you can push your members to, give them an option in terms of just the brick and mortar. Should you be forced to shut down, do you have a platform where you can continue the fitness journey for your members? You can continue the engagement. You can keep them as your member and still honestly commercialize the whole, I guess, the continuum, right? Can you yourself still make sure that your business is still viable and running so that there is a gym for the members to come back to? Incredibly pragmatic. I think it's definitely going to be around for quite some time and probably here to stay. What I do like about it is the convenience aspect. You know, Anytime Fitness, one of our platforms is convenience. And I think convenience, not only for gym memberships, but really convenience for anything in life is a great motivator. So when you have the ability to literally log on at any hour of the day, whether it be in between work, taking care of the kids, on the weekends, on vacation, whatnot, the ability to continue that journey, your fitness journey, whether it be out of the brick and mortar and into a virtual, I think is key. The convenience is going to drive it. In terms of the price points, that's going to be up to every single market. Of our 9 markets, our margins and our bandwidths in terms of profitability obviously differ from market to market. But the operator is going to have to really look at that and determine, you know, how much bandwidth, how much leverage do you want to put in, how much resources do you want to put into that, right? But in terms of my thoughts on hybrid, it is essential. It is a great decision, especially during these times. And I'm curious to see how that will evolve as well. Because right now you have the basics of just, you know, full-blown online virtual membership, whether you can do one-on-one PT, small group PT. I'm sure there's going to be different iterations that will attach and you can bolt on to your regular memberships. So again, I think the global gym goer or gym member is no longer just going to have, you know, pull out of your wallet and give you your membership card. They're going to be able to tell you, well, which membership card do you want to see? My gym that I go to, or the virtual PT package that I have, or the small group training that I have with my coworkers. It's just going to be a plethora of just options and choices. I think George hit it as well. I mean, you have to go into there. Don't be afraid to do it. It's whatever your market dictates or demands, you know, that's an opportunity. You just have to be really strategic about it. You know, emotional decisions, jumping into them tend to get people in trouble. So just be strategic about it. That's all.
Thanks, Ray. John, obviously, we've talked about George having virtual-only memberships now, hybrid, standalone, traditional memberships. Where do you think the future of World Gym lies?
Yeah, look, definitely. We are a big box model, and our take on our clubs moving forward is, you know, we're going to operate. We're going to go up against the boutique style clubs and create boutiques inside our gyms. So, you know, if you go into our cycle room, it's going to be like going into a boutique cycle room. If you go into our group fitness room, it's going to be, if you go into our yoga room, we've got hot yoga. So I think for us, we have a standardized membership rate. We only have an add-on for World Gym Athletics, which is generally a separate room. And it's only used for those members for that room that go into the athletics section. I definitely see, and I agree with everyone, that the online options and the training at home options, high quality, is definitely a way of having a hybrid option for us as well. You know, we have that the big box that we definitely want to have an option outside of the gym for members to train if this does happen again. And also, like people, like everyone's saying, you know, we've got options with members where they're not coming into the gym at the moment. They're working from home, and their hours are changing. They might want to exercise at home, and so be able to give them a hybrid option that facilitates that is obviously something that is going to create a better member experience for us.
Thanks, John. Ladies and gentlemen, I know there's some questions coming in. We're going to choose those at the end, so please do keep them coming. And we've got a couple of questions here to ask, and then we'll dig into the audience Q&A. Ray, let me go back with you at the moment. One of the things, of course, as any business owner looking forward into the future is looking at your investment pipeline. You know, I think we've obviously, we all had as business owners and investors a pipeline of where we thought growth was going to happen and what that deployment of capital was in the next couple of years. Looking at Anytime Fitness Asia and, of course, the current situation, how has that impacted your investment pipeline, or where you think investment should be put next?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ross. If I'm looking at just, again, specifically talking about growth of my portfolio, you know, obviously being a franchise platform that operates within the fitness space, you know, that growth lies within our franchise base, right? Allowing our franchise base to grow is going to grow our units in our portfolio. That being said, that journey, that franchise journey, supporting the franchise journey, improving profitability, promoting and upholding the brand standards are key, right? And that's what we've got to do. So when I take a look at, the amount of monies that the board allows me to spend, I've got to sort of take a look at what is going to make that franchise journey simple, profitable, and sustainable. So when I look at it, we are actually re-engineering. We have re-engineered our franchise support system and our coaching and development, particularly focusing on unit profitability, operator proficiency and competency and coaching to that level. Also underpinning that with our LMS, our learning management software system that allows for that online education, not only for the franchisees, but for their staff is quite critical. And it's quite expensive. So that's a very big investment. Data is everything these days. Decisions need to be made based off of data, less on emotions, but sure, you can go by your gut. But launching a new data platform, which allows us to warehouse the data, data mine, evaluate the data, cut and piece it together to be able to know where we should be going, how much we should be spending, what kind of bandwidth we should be stretching. That's quite an exciting project, actually. Of course, the continuing development of virtual and that remote coaching model is going to be with us for quite some time. Creating that content and making sure that we've got the right content, the right programs. Is it sticky enough to be able to attract those members, but more importantly, keep them? That's the question, right? And that takes development and investment. We're also re-engineering our marketing teams to basically tackle the online, offline. The social and digital content are key. And for us, operating out of so many markets, taking the global, being able to work off the global, but also being able to localize it to the individual club level is also quite key when it comes to franchising, right? Of course, we're always going to be evaluating our products and our offerings to make sure they're world-class, to make sure that we are being innovative, not trendy, but innovative. And also looking at our operations. Our 3- and 5-year growth and development plans are quite aggressive. So making sure our operations and our logistics/admin teams are capable of being able to grow and sustain our pace. Those are the things that I'm looking at to invest in. Because when we do it right, and it all comes together and culminates, that is probably the only way I can ensure the growth of our platform. I mean, we've sold just under 400 franchisees right now. We're just under 300 open gyms, and we're looking to triple that, right? And that doesn't happen just by wishing it to happen. You've got to make sure your organization is ready for that kind of growth. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the investment future for Anytime Fitness Asia.
Thanks, Ray. Well, look, it is very exciting for you guys, and obviously I hope you capture that opportunity in some of the countries that you're now doubling down in, and of course some of the new entries you're making in. George, let me pull across to you. Of course, you've got again another multi-international cross-border investment strategy to look at here. When you're looking at this, how are you kind of envisioning or prioritizing where you're going to be investing in next? Is maybe the reluctance of the governments involved in terms of their approach to COVID, is that something you're now considering as well? What's your investment pipeline?
So our investment pipeline is actually pretty strong and pretty healthy at the moment. But how did we get there? I think it's important for shareholders and the board that the business can show bounce back ability in a very, very short space of time. We were very, very fortunate. We paid full salaries to all our staff under lockdown, which I think was pretty unique. So we showed a high level of confidence and loyalty, and it was a huge statement from our shareholder, the belief in the business and the brand. Thereafter, it's my role and the executive team that works with me to ensure that bounce back ability has come back to the business. And once we've demonstrated that, we're fortunate all our numbers are outperforming prior year, cash profit, net profit numbers. But it's because we had the ability, and Ross, we moved really, really fast. In these times, very interesting, when you read up about Fortune 500 companies in today's current market, a Fortune 500 company today only has a lifespan of somewhere around 17 to 20 years. So your ability to engage and move fast and to show positive intent back to your shareholders. And once your numbers come through, it doesn't matter whether it's a COVID situation, a double recession, the investment will come back into your business, because it's all about creating confidence. It's about moving with speed, being responsible, and ensuring that bounce back ability. So what's happened in our business, we've continued to invest. We're currently refurbing clubs now. We're opening new clubs in the UAE. We're in the final throes of signing our franchise agreement in Pakistan. Pre-COVID, we had strong plans to enter the Egypt market, which now will come back because we've generated the cash flows to substantiate that market. And of course, we got the rights to 13 countries. We're currently operating in 6, and all 13 of those countries has a brand value. We have the opportunity to expand and extend the brand value of the business for the shareholders. So right now, provided we're showing the cash profit, all the territories and markets are open to us. Will we decide at some stage to look at a different type of business model? Will we decide to go into potentially the budget range? We have those opportunities because some of the markets that we'll be trading in the future are low yield, high density markets, which then takes on a substantially different model that we're running now. So our investors and our shareholder is very, very bullish, provided that the business can show the cash profits needed to go with the expansion. So everything's just a moment in time. If the business shows bounce back ability and confidence, everything else comes into play.
Thanks, George. Let me field one question from the audience just now. It was given by Steve. Steve, for any time. Steve has asked, where have you saw the greatest success on reopenings? Has it been with engaging members through online communications? Has it been engaging members via phone calls? Has it been driving new member sales or recruitment? Where have you saw the greatest successes so far on reopening? John, maybe some thoughts on that? I'm not too sure if I'll pull you in.
Yeah, look, we're very vocal with our social media. So I think our social media has been, and also our age group. Our demographic is a slightly younger group of people. So we engage quite heavily across social media, both Instagram and Facebook. Obviously, right through COVID, we were engaging with them with online training at home, things like that. And we were able to broaden our base of people that were jumping on the World Gym Australia website. So I think that's been our main focus. Obviously, in club, compared to all of our clubs in Australia, are actually performing better now than they were pre-COVID member-wise. So we're at high member rates now. And I think a lot of that was to do with the engagement that we had during the COVID restrictions.
Thanks, John. Davie, your thoughts? Obviously, you've reopened many clubs, but has one or two performed in a stellar way? And what do you think's behind that?
Yeah, I think predominantly it's been the communication by all of the staff while they've been not working. They've been working, and they've been on the phones every day to all of our members and having really good conversation, just asking them how they are and keeping them engaged. And that has been paramount to how many members have come back, and the ones that can't wait to come back. So that creating that community of our members while they're at home has been one of the reasons why, like Jonathan, our clubs have come back. They're not back where they were pre-COVID, but they're heading in that direction, apart from the ones who are still closed, of course. But we've also had put on a lot of challenges to get them engaged that way as well. So even if they're not in the club, so they're not coming in, they can still get involved in challenges, and that's another way to keep them engaged, to help them, because they're starting to lose motivation, of course, from just doing the online exercises all the time. But I would say, and also the third thing is, of course, upselling them to personal training or Pilates. And so the revenue you lose by the amount of members that go on freeze or cancel has been subsidised by the extra revenue we've got from upselling other components to their memberships.
Thanks, Di. That's a good segue to the next question from Owen Bowling. Owen's asked, how do you overcome members that have low motivation or bad habits? How do you get them back in? How do you implement more positive habits? George, let me turn to you and maybe ask both those questions. What's made reopening successful in your clubs across your portfolio? And perhaps digging a bit deeper, how have your gyms and club owners and club managers successfully remotivated and re-energized some of those members that perhaps were falling behind?
Thanks for that, Ross. Our biggest contributor was on social media and just staying active. Never ever think that the customer doesn't need to hear from you anymore. We stayed active. We kept talking to them 24/7. Our social media drive and our online activity was just phenomenal. And we recorded everything. We've never taken any comments off our social media platforms. So members can see what other members are saying, which is really important. We also had certain heuristics that we encouraged to use on our social media platforms. So you create a subconscious environment where people are hearing the same things over and over, like exercise is good for the immune system. Healthy people need to be exercising. Fitness is the answer. So if you start using those type of words in your social media content, it encourages more and more and more people to see the positive side of exercise. Now, that's the contrast to people using things like, let's be safe. If you're telling people let's be safe, it means that there's a potential that they're fearing something. You hear people say, I'm afraid to come back to the gym. So let's move away from let's be safe. I'm afraid. Let's encourage people that exercise is good. Exercise is healthier. Exercise is the answer. Exercise gives you a greater immune system. But you've got to keep talking it. You've got to keep talking it across your social media platforms. Your sales teams have got to talk it. Your fitness teams have got to talk it. Because ultimately, and this is to answer the question, motivation purely starts and stops by the way you think. If you're thinking, wow, here's one example. If I'm thinking, wow, I'm a little bit afraid of going to the health club. The opposite of that thought is, wow, if I go to the health club, I'm going to get healthy and I'm going to be in perfect health and this is going to look after me. So how you get people to shift the way they're thinking actually encourages higher levels of motivation, and that encourages the comeback. Now, that's not one or two people's roles in the business. It's everybody's role that you choose your language really, really professionally and motivating people that they see the upside and the positive's the right word, of the way people are thinking and feeling. So encourage people to move away from things like, I'm afraid, be safe. We don't use those words. We encourage people to say, be in perfect health. Healthy people, exercise is great for the immune system. So we encourage that level of thought, which drives a different motivation, as opposed to the sort of chunking down on people's motivations and people's emotions across our business. But it's a collective. When I say that, it's a collective. You need all your staff to be talking a very, very similar language, which then moves your customer base significantly. And once you create that momentum, it keeps going. Yeah. It keeps going. Your group exercise studios, they hear it. Your clubs, they feel it. People are coming in there saying, wow, this is a really cool place to be. I just love the energy that's coming out of this place. So think about it, and then always choose a positive response. Choose your words carefully and make it positive. Down the track, it'll become a good habit, and people will tie into it, and more people will come back to your club. Absolutely.
Thanks, George. We talked on there, of course, the need for positivity and keeping people focused on their health. And I know that in the first talk with Chuck, we touched about the challenge we have in penetrating government and how government perhaps isn't necessarily thinking of us as part of the solution. Ray, let me bring you in here for just a couple of minutes. I know that Anytime Fitness have done some great work, as has everybody, but let's just focus on this and engaging governments to try and make sure that we are seen as part of this solution. What are your thoughts in terms of how we can keep those relationships going, how we can better penetrate higher levels of government? Is it a local level or a domestic level or international level? How do we win?
Yeah, good question, Ross. And I think I mentioned before that this aspect was really quite a journey for me, to be quite honest with you. And I'll talk about like the things that we learned and probably hopefully give some hints in terms of what you should do. So first of all, you got to look at this as not an adversarial kind of relationship, right? This has got to be a partnership, and a lot of this starts with, you got to understand and you got to have the mindset that it's a mutual communication, mutual collaboration with the government, right? And that sounds obvious, but a lot of that has to manifest in the fact that you probably will have to do a lot of educating on your end, because the government units, they don't necessarily understand our industry, right? They don't understand the nuances. They don't understand what makes it work. Frankly, there's a high likelihood they have never been a member of a health club. They've never gone into a gym. They don't understand that lifestyle, perhaps, okay? So a lot of explanation, a lot of rationale has to be gone through in terms of what the safety SOPs that you've developed. And there's got to be a clear alignment in the goals that both and all stakeholders have to have. And that, of course, is safety, right? Safety for the citizens, safety for the members, safety for the staff. If you do that well, it will foster trust and confidence for all stakeholders, right? If you go in there with the mindset of, well, that's not my problem. I've got to make my business work. My staff has, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You've got to go in there with, you know what, Ross, completely understand where you're coming from. Let's find a solution. It has to be completely solution driven. So just to get some specifics, and maybe it'll help some people. So what we did was, and we've done this for many, many markets, was be smart, leverage your government and local network contacts, right? It's always great to have a name and a number. You don't want to be cold calling a political government, right? Or an office trying to get to the right person. Network yourself. We sent position papers that basically stated what our clear goals and what our clear intentions were. We stated what the importance of having gyms open are. What is the importance of a member being able to go to a gym? How does this impact not only members, but the impact on staff and impact on the business? Then what we did was we gave an overview of the industry for that specific country or that specific region or market. Because quite frankly, a lot of the political pundits there, they don't quite know what the depth and breadth of the industry is, even in their own markets, right? They say, well, we have a few hundred gyms. Come to turns out they have like 6,200 gyms. But we must have, a few, 10, 20, 50,000 members. Ends up being like 250,000, right, to 1 million members. And once you put them, or once you have them look at that perspective, it begins to really open their eyes. So we worked with IRSA, and they gave some, obviously IRSA always has fantastic data in terms of what market penetration looks like and what, the number of gyms and things like that. And then of course you give your proposal. Like, what are your proposed standard operating procedures for safety? Right? Because if you're expecting the government to be able to give you a litany of checkpoints, they're not gonna. Because they themselves, frankly, don't really know or have the details for it. So we, as the professionals of the industry, need to be able to have that for them, but more importantly, be able to explain the what and the why, more importantly, of those SOPs. Then what we did was we invited the political advocates, right? Whether it would be a senator or a person or a chairperson or the head of a steering committee for a government, come into our gyms. Let us walk you around. We'll have the SOPs in hand. We'll explain why we can't do certain things and why we need to do other things. And that collaboration is really what will open the doors and hopefully will allow the governments to go, you know what? We didn't look at this in the right or using the right lens. we've been educated now, and obviously that industry wants to work with the local government to be able to open up their shops. And we've seen that time and again with all of our markets. And again, I think in summary, it's got to be collaborative. It's all about education, and you got to have a plan when you speak with a government official, because they don't have much time to talk. So they're short and sharp, right to the point. So hopefully, you can work things out and it'll help.
Thank you very much, Ray. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got 1 minute left. I'm going to pose one question to the panel, and they're going to have a sentence to answer it. If you could go back 12 months in time, what would you tell yourself? If you can go back 12 months in time, what would you tell yourself? And ladies and gentlemen, feel free to put an answer into the chat box and we can read them as well. So John, one sentence, go back in time 12 months, what would you tell yourself?
I would have just told myself to believe in the process. I think, that's the way that we've worked through this scenario, and we're going to continue to work through the scenario that we are faced with at the moment, and be positive to get through it, because I think our industry is going to bounce back stronger than ever.
Di, your thoughts?
I would say to myself, do not go ahead and change all of our technology over to a new system. But we did. We were too far gone to stop. So, and we're glad that we did it now. But it was rather a nightmare changing all of our technology systems over to new systems while we were managing COVID as well.
Thanks, Di. George, last thought.
Ross, 12 months ago, I would have jumped on all the additional revenue streams a lot faster. It was an opportunity that we should have taken. And the way we reshaped the spine of our P&L, because we had to, if I had done that 12 months ago, who knows? Fitness First might be across 13 countries as opposed to 6. So those were the lessons we took out of it.
And Ray, closing thought?
Yeah, two things. Engagement and communication with our members in our markets. You can't overdo that. And last thing is improve, develop, and empower your staff. They will get you through the tough times, and they will push your company forward. But you got to develop them.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's been a fantastic discussion. If we were here in person, there'd be a round of applause just now for everybody involved. John, Di, George, and Ray, thank you very much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. We're going to take a small break just now. By all means, please keep connecting. Please go over to Networking the Exhibition. The stage resumes in, I think, 10 minutes' time with a CEO from Sports Singapore. But for now, we thank you very much for your time and have a great rest of the event. Thank you.